Now let us look at the first example on worksheet 1. We want to write the chemical formula of the ionic compound lithium oxide. First, we look at the elements that are present in the compound. In this case, it is lithium and oxygen. We know that lithium is a metal and oxygen is a non-metal. Hence, they make up the ionic compound lithium oxide. Next, we look at the respective elements and write down the formula of its ions.
For lithium, we know it has an electronic configuration of 2, 1. Hence, to obtain a stable electronic structure, a lithium atom will lose one electron to form lithium plus ion, Li+, with an electronic configuration of 2. For oxygen, we know it has an electronic configuration of 2, 6. Hence, to obtain a stable electronic structure, an oxygen atom will gain 2 electrons to form oxide ion O2- with the electronic configuration of 2, 8. Hence, in the ionic compound lithium oxide, there will be 2 lithium ions and 1 oxide ion. The chemical formula is Li2O. In your worksheet, you'll be required to show the working before writing down the chemical formula of the compounds. How do you do that? To show the working, you first write down the formulas of the ions in the compound. In this case, you have your lithium ion, Li+, and your oxide ion, O2-. So you write it down in a column below. After writing it down, you'll be required to balance the charges. Since the oxide ion has a charge of 2-, we will require 2 lithium ion with a charge of 1+ to balance the charges on the oxide ion. After that, you write down the chemical formula of the ionic compound without the charges. In this case, it is your Li2O. Now, let us look at the next example. The name of the compound given here is magnesium iodide. Next, we write the name of the elements present in the compound. In this case, it is magnesium and iodine. Take note that when we are writing the name of the ion in the compound, the name ends with "-ide", I-D-E. So, the ion in the compound is called iodide. The element, however, is called iodine. Next, we write down the formula of the ions that are present. They are your magnesium ion and your iodide ion, Mg2+ and I-. At this point, we need to balance the charges. In order to balance the charge on the magnesium ion with a charge of 2+, we will require 2 iodide ion with a charge of 1- to balance the charges. Hence, the compound magnesium iodide will have 1 magnesium ion and 2 iodide ions. The chemical formula for the compound is hence Mgi2. Let us now look at the next example. The name of this compound is potassium nitrite. Again, we write down the name of the elements present in this compound: potassium and nitrogen. Next, we write down the formula of the ions present in the compound, which is your potassium ion K plus and your nitrite ion N3 minus. At this point, again, we have to balance the charges. So in this case, you will have 3 potassium ion to balance the charges on the nitrite ion. So the chemical formula for potassium nitrite would be K3N. We move on to our next example. Now, we have a compound cobalt 2 bromide. Again, we need to write down the name of the elements present. Now, in this case, is your cobalt and your bromine. Take note that cobalt is a transition metal. Hence, if you actually look at the name of the compound, you will see that the Roman numeral is written when writing the name of most of the ions formed by transition metals. Now, we write down the formula of the ions in the ionic compound, which is your cobalt ion CO2 plus and your bromide ion Br minus. At this point, again, very important, we balance the charges of the cobalt ion and the bromide ion. Hence, we will have the chemical formula of COBr2 for your cobalt 2 bromide. Now, let's look at our last example. We have the compound aluminium sulfide. The name of the elements present in this compound is aluminium and sulfur. And the formula of the ions that are present, they are your aluminium ion Al3 plus and your sulfide ion S2 minus. Again, importantly, we need to balance the charges at this point. So, we'll have the chemical formula of Al2S3 for your aluminium sulfide. Now, complete the table by writing down the chemical formula of all the compounds given. You may pause the video now and take a few minutes to complete the table. Check your answers. We will now look at the second part of the worksheet. Now, turn to page 2 of worksheet 1. Now, this time round, you'll be presented with the name of the element. You must come up with the name of the compound, the formula of the ions, and the chemical formula of the compound itself. Let's look at the first example. Given zinc and chlorine, what will be the name of the compound that is formed? Zinc and chlorine will form the ionic compound zinc chloride. For the name of an ion formed from a non-metal, the name of the ion ends with the ite or IDE. For example, chloride ion formed from the element chlorine. Now, we write out the formula of the ions that are present. Your zinc ion, Zn2+, and your chloride ion, Cl-. Next, we balance the charges of the ions. Thus, we arrived for the chemical formula of zinc chloride to be ZnCl2. Now similarly for your sodium and your oxygen, the name of the compound that will be formed is your sodium oxide. The formula of the ions in the compound is your sodium ion Na+, and your oxide ion, your O2-. Now again, importantly, we balance the charges on the ions, and after that we can arrive at the chemical formula of Na2O for your sodium oxide. Now take the next minute to complete the next two examples, and we'll go through the example together. You may now pause the video. Now let's go through the next two examples. In the next example, you have your calcium and your chlorine. What will be the name of the compound that's formed between your calcium and your chlorine? It is actually your calcium chloride. What are the formula of the ions in calcium chloride? They are your calcium ion Ca2+, and your chloride ion, your Cl-. Now after balancing the charges, we write down the chemical formula for calcium chloride, which is CaCl2. Next, we have your silver and your bromine, and they form the ionic compound silver bromide. The ions that are present is your silver ion Ag+, and your bromine ion Br-. After balancing the charges, we have the chemical formula for silver bromide, AgBr. Now, complete the table by writing down the names and the chemical formula of all the compounds. You may now pause the video. Check your answers. We have come to the end of your part 1 of the e-learning package.